Game doesn't launch for another week, boy. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, November 4th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. As I alluded to in my cold open, there was a flurry of news around God of War this week. God of War Ragnarok doesn't launch until next week on the 9th, which is I hopefully will get my collector's edition, if not maybe a little bit early. That would be nice. Definitely want to jump in and play that. But yeah, the game launches next week, but the reviews are already in. There was a pretty funny commercial this week. So yeah, let's jump into that. The reviews are in, and they are surprising and whopping 94 on Metacritic. So everyone's saying really good things. That's exactly what I believe. The first one was that 94 as well. So just as good as the other one. I'm still somewhat hesitant on how they can go above and beyond. I really love the 2018's game, so yeah, really curious kind of how this one builds on that. And time to kind of wrap things up, but I love Ragnarok and Norse mythology, so they had me at Fenrir, seeing Atreus shoot up at the moon and seeing Fenrir. Yeah, they had me at that. They also had a live-action commercial TV ad kind of thing that had a bunch of celebrities, including Ben Stiller and John Travolta, LeBron James, as well as their kids, kind of doing a support group on parent and kid dynamics, which is kind of what God of War Ragnarok's all about, with Kratos and Atreides. So yeah, it was a really funny commercial. I have a link down below to that. And also, Sony Santa Monica and Sony itself were hyping up the numbers, and God of War 2018 has passed a whopping 23 million units sold. Awesome. I think that's very high, like top 20 or 30 as far as game sales by title are concerned. So pretty impressive stuff there. And yeah, I'm very excited for the game. Like I said, my collector's edition is in the mail, so looking forward to getting that next week. Be able to get my hands on God of War Ragnarok. But let me know what you think of all the buzz down below in the comments. Moving right along, and also in Sony news, they announced the PSVR 2. Well, they had previously announced it, but now it has a launch date, a firm launch date of February 22nd of next year. So 2 more months, we can get our hands on the PSVR 2, and I will finally probably get a VR headset. I know I've been kind of wishy-washy on which one I was going to get. I've always been very interested in VR. I just haven't dove in any yet. Pre-orders for PSVR 2 will start on November 15th. So if you're looking to get those, I don't know how much demand there will be, or how much, and if it's anything like getting your hands on a PS5, which for the first couple of years was quite a nightmare. Maybe we be pretty trigger happy on pre-orders next week. Yeah. They announced the price point for PSVR 2 will be $550, which is pretty expensive. It's more expensive than a console itself, which seems a little off because you can't play any games with it by itself. So the fact that it is higher priced than the console that it will be supporting is a little bit off in my mind. I think 500 would have been a little bit more digestible for fans. But people who are interested in VR are going to buy it early anyway. And I could see it going down or be bundled in a better package probably pretty soon after launch. That's just my speculation. And then one more thing about PSVR is that it won't be backwards compatible. This is one thing that's causing me to hesitate a bit on whether or not I want to buy in. There are a lot of PlayStation VR games that I want to play with Beat Saber, and ours one was called Batman Arkham game. So there's a lot of games I want to play, but if they're not going to be backwards compatible PSVR, which seems like a pretty dumb idea, the catalog for PSVR games isn't that deep. So the fact that they're not even going to rely on that catalog is a pretty big miss in my mind. But yeah, let me know what you think of PSVR and HBO has finally announced the launch date for The Last of Us TV series. It will be coming in January of next year, January 15th. So there's just so much TV to watch. I still haven't started Andor. The Willow show comes out later this month. And Netflix, Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I haven't started that yet. Really behind on TV, but really looking forward to The Last of Us. Really excited to see Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, Joel, Ellie. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I want to see those clickers in live action. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'm excited for it. I hope we get another trailer or two before it launches in just a couple months. Seems like we're hitting a lot of notes on PlayStation stuff. Most of the stuff has been PlayStation so far, but yes, I saw an article this week talking about how PlayStation Plus has lost 2 million users in the last quarter, which isn't really surprising. I bet there was just a general apathy or just not knowing how the PlayStation Plus ecosystem will work. That wasn't really well explained. Even I, who work in the industry, don't really understand the difference between tiers and what games I get and how I get those games and which one is most compatible to PS Plus of old. So all of that was all really confusing, and I could see how just apathy set in and people were not interested in buying into this more expensive version of the same thing, or just didn't know how to buy in. So PlayStation Plus has lost 2 million users. Might not be the biggest deal as far as their overall user count, but pretty big news for PlayStation. If you're looking for some free games to play this weekend with friends, I am a huge fan of Fat Shark Games. They make all of the kind of Warhammer-based Left 4 Dead clones, and Vermintide 2 is free to download on Steam this week. So not just a free weekend, but if you download it this weekend, you'll be able to keep it and play it perpetually. So I have yet to play Vermintide 2. I played a lot of the first one, but never really got into the second one. But if I can get a bunch of friends, low price of free, I can imagine playing this soon. And I'm very much looking forward to Dark Tide later this month as well. I have a friend that with. I am looking forward to Vermintide and Dark Tide. Yeah, if you're looking for something free to play this weekend with friends, check out Vermintide all the way. Speaking again of Last of Us, I've got a series of Kickstarters that might be of interest. The Last of Us got an officially licensed board game that's going to be coming to Kickstarter next week. Yeah, pretty excited about that. They keep the kind of gritty tone with a black and white color palette. So it looked really interesting. I'm curious how they handle kind of the survival aspects in a board game. Usually it's like a resource management or something. Pretty exciting stuff. Glad to see The Last of Us getting an officially licensed board. Kickstarter feels a little weird. I feel like Naughty Dog has the chops to do something without having to kickstart it, but maybe a little bit less risky if you kickstart it and get the crowd to fund it. Interesting stuff there. Also, another Kickstarter that was going on this week that got funded very quickly was the Slay the Spire Kickstarter was this week. So pretty exciting stuff there. I think this one has been talked about for quite some time, and even I talked about it a couple months ago, but it's really here. It's here, and you'll be able to play. It's a co-op experience, which you can't normally do in Slay the Spire. So, you know, that roguelike card battler that you're looking for, now you can play it with friends. So I'm very, very much looking for the Spire Kickstarter. I've backed a lot of Kickstarters this week, especially this next one. There was a Kickstarter for a video game that actually closed this week, and it was called The Store is Closed. And it's based on a kind of SCP story of an infinitely large IKEA store, and you're trapped in there and you have to try and survive. And the game is a base building survival horror game that you can play with up to 4 friends, which checks a lot of boxes for me as someone who never likes to spend more time in IKEA than I need to. this is definitely scratching an itch that I love, and I also love survival horror games and base building and all that stuff, and doing it with friends. So yeah, the game checked off a lot of boxes, and why I started that this week. They're also in the solo dev. I believe it's a solo dev. Is also in legal trouble with IKEA because a lot of the color palette, floors, and the employee outfits look very IKEA-esque. So IKEA sent them a cease and desist and just change the assets, which is like a little bit of a hassle for something that people, only very niche people who play like survival horror games are going to know about, and its association with IKEA. And it's not like this is the first time IKEA has ever been parodied in a video game. So it seemed like IKEA was just kind of picking on the solo dev. So hopefully, I kind of want the dev to fight it, but I could see why they would just change the assets. Although this did give them, the dev, a lot of press coverage about this kind of legal trouble. So hopefully that gives them a good get a good bump out of that. Yeah, looking forward to kickstarting that, and it's due to come out in June of 2024, so I don't have to wait long to play survival horror in an IKEA. Speaking of survival games, there was a survival RPG that I demoed back in June, I think, last time I played it. But it was just a beta. It was called Frozen Flame, and it scratches a lot of the same itch as like Valheim, where it's Norse mythology based, and you're running around and you're building up a base, and you're trying to fight enemies. And the RPG aspect, I think, is a little bit above and beyond what kind of how Valheim handled progression. But not that I didn't like that, but I like the kind of the art style for Frozen Flame is a little bit more colorful, as well as the RPG actually being able to like grow and build your character and have like diverse roles is something that played the heck out of the demo. I think it was like 4 or 5 hours of gameplay to get through all of the content. Now that it's into early access later this month, I'm excited to pick that up and play. Last but not least, this week, Keanu Reeves is coming to a console near you again. Not this time as Johnny Silverhand, but potentially as John Wick. The CEO of Lionsgate talked about how there's potential to put John Wick into a AAA video game. So that could be cool. I think a John Wick game would be pretty interesting. I remember playing the one of the Bourne video games, so it was very like combat focused. They have a lot of like similar skill sets between like John Wick and the close combat fighting, but with a gun all the time. So I think a John Wick type video game could do really well. And I think it would be more than just a first-person shooter. Hopefully, it's got that close combat stuff. Hopefully, it's got, I would say, narrative, but John Wick isn't really necessarily like a narrative property. I like the world building of John Wick, but the story is actually pretty. But I'm looking forward to it. I think a John Wick video game would be pretty cool, and I'd AAA take on it, and how it would be above and beyond kind of your first-person shooter game. But obviously, you'd have to shoot a game. That's John Wick's whole thing is guns. So yeah, let me know what you think. What's a good comp for a John Wick video game? What game do you think is very similar, or would a John Wick video game play like? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. That's it for this week, but if there's anything you feel I missed, feel free to leave a comment down below or in my Discord. Always happy to talk video games there. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube. More great content like this, I'll have links down below in the description. Thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you had a super Halloween. I hope you have a super weekend. I hope you have a super day. Bye.